As the ongoing conflict in Ukraine continues to evolve, a series of developments have captured the attention of international observers and stakeholders alike. Ukrainian drone strikes deep within Russian territory, diplomatic maneuvers involving high-level talks between the United States and Ukraine, and significant shifts in defense policy from NATO highlight the complex dynamics at play in this war, which has now persisted for nearly 3 years. On February 11, a Ukrainian drone strike targeted an industrial facility in Russia's Saratov region, marking a notable escalation in Kyiv's strategy of hitting back at Russian infrastructure. This attack reflects a shift in the tactical landscape as Ukrainian forces increasingly utilize drone technology to project power beyond their borders. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has indicated a willingness to negotiate, proposing a potential land exchange that would involve territories seized by Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region in exchange for land currently occupied by Russia. If both sides are willing to sit down at the negotiating table, we can find a solution, Zelenskyy asserted, signaling a cautious openness to dialogue amid ongoing hostilities. Amid these developments, U.S. President Donald Trump has been vocal about his administration's approach to the conflict, stating that he plans to engage with Zelenskyy in the coming week. Trump emphasized the importance of diplomatic engagements, hinting at a possible shift in U.S. foreign policy regarding Ukraine. However, he has also tied U.S. aid to Ukraine with access to rare earth minerals, a move that has raised eyebrows among analysts who question the implications for Ukraine's sovereignty and economic independence. As Trump navigates these complex discussions, his administration faces the dual challenge of maintaining support for Ukraine while also managing domestic and geopolitical interests. In a stark contrast to U.S. overtures, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz reiterated his country's stance against supplying long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine, a decision aimed at preventing further escalation. This reluctance underscores the divisions within NATO regarding military support for Ukraine and the balance of power within the alliance. Scholz's comments reflect a broader hesitation among European leaders to escalate military engagements that could provoke a stronger response from Russia. Simultaneously, North Korea's allegiance to Russia has come into sharper focus, with leader Kim Jong-un pledging continued support for Moscow and its military endeavors against Ukraine. This support includes the provision of military equipment, which has raised concerns about the increasing collaboration between the two nations amidst international sanctions and isolation. Reports that Russian soldiers are receiving treatment in North Korean hospitals further highlight the intertwining of military efforts between Russia and North Korea. As NATO grapples with its role in this conflict, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, during his first major outing in Europe, ruled out the deployment of American troops in Ukraine as peacekeepers. He described the prospect of Ukraine joining NATO as not realistic, emphasizing the need for European allies to take greater responsibility for their own security. This shift in rhetoric reflects a broader U.S. strategy that prioritizes European military self-sufficiency over direct American involvement, a change that could redefine the security landscape in Europe. The ongoing war has not only reshaped military alliances but has also impacted domestic situations within the countries involved. In Ukraine, the abrupt suspension of USAID funding is creating significant challenges for local charities, which are struggling to cope without their financial lifelines. Conversely, in Russia, soaring interest rates linked to the war have severely affected homeownership prospects, illustrating the war's profound economic repercussions on both sides. The implications of these developments extend beyond the battlefield. As Ukraine seeks to rebuild and recover from the devastation of war, the government is urging millions of refugees to return home to help with reconstruction efforts. However, convincing those who have established lives abroad to return remains a formidable challenge. Looking ahead, the potential for renewed dialogue between Ukraine and Russia remains uncertain. While Zelensky's proposals and Trump's diplomatic overtures suggest a willingness to explore negotiation, the entrenched positions of both sides and external influences from nations such as North Korea complicate the prospect for peace. As the situation continues to evolve, the international community will be closely monitoring developments, hoping for a resolution to a conflict that has reshaped geopolitical dynamics in Europe and beyond. As the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia reaches another critical juncture, recent statements from key leaders illuminate the shifting dynamics and stark realities facing the region. On February 12, 2025, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth outlined the Biden administration's evolving stance during a meeting at NATO headquarters in Brussels with representatives from over 40 allied nations. Hegseth's remarks, which deemed the restoration of Ukraine's pre-2014 borders as unrealistic, reflect a broader reassessment of the West's approach to the protracted war that has claimed countless lives and displaced millions. Hegseth emphasized that while the U.S. supports a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine, the notion of reclaiming territories lost to Russia, including Crimea annexed in 2014, should not be an immediate priority. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering, he warned, signaling a shift in the U.S. strategy that is likely to influence NATO's collective response to Russian aggression. His comments came amid ongoing violence, including a recent missile strike in Kyiv that resulted in civilian casualties, further heightening tensions. This recalibration of U.S. policy coincides with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's urgent calls for continued support from Western allies, as he accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of failing to prepare for peace and persisting in attacks against Ukrainian cities. Zelensky's plea underscores the dire situation on the ground, where Ukrainian forces are battling not only for territorial integrity but also for the very survival of their nation. In a stark warning, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg reiterated the alliance's commitment to collective defense, asserting that any attack on NATO would yield devastating consequences for Russia. This statement serves as a clear deterrent, emphasizing NATO's readiness to respond decisively to further aggression. As the situation evolves, the alliance's posture may impact how both Ukraine and Russia strategize their next moves. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian military is adopting innovative tactics to counteract the overwhelming numerical superiority of Russian forces. Recent reports indicate that Ukraine has launched the Drone Line project, integrating infantry and drone operations to create effective strike systems capable of establishing 10 to 15 kilometers kill zones. Defense Minister Rustem Umerov highlighted this initiative as a transformation in warfare, asserting that unmanned systems are becoming crucial in supporting ground troops and enhancing combat effectiveness. The integration of drone technology signifies Ukraine's commitment to leveraging modern warfare tactics to offset Russia's advantages on the battlefield. Against this backdrop of military innovation and strategic reassessment, the geopolitical landscape remains fraught with uncertainty. The rhetoric from both U.S. officials and NATO reinforces a commitment to Ukraine, yet the implications of Hegseth's comments may suggest a more tempered approach moving forward. As the conflict continues to evolve, the balance of power and the prospects for peace remain precariously poised, with the future of Ukraine hanging in the balance. In conclusion, as the war enters its third year, the international community watches closely. The interplay between military strategy, diplomatic negotiations, and the realities on the ground will shape the next phase of this conflict. With leaders on both sides showing no signs of yielding, the potential for escalation remains ever present, necessitating a vigilant response from Ukraine and its allies. As the situation develops, the coming months will be critical in determining whether a path toward peace can be charted or if further hostilities will deepen the divide. In a pivotal moment for Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy emphasized the critical role of the United States in ensuring his country's security, just as he prepares for a significant diplomatic mission. In an exclusive interview with The Guardian, Zelenskyy made it clear that Europe alone cannot provide the security guarantees that Ukraine desperately needs in light of ongoing tensions with Russia. Security guarantees without America are not real security guarantees, he asserted, underscoring the reliance on U.S. support as he navigates a complex political landscape, particularly with the return of Donald Trump to the forefront of U.S. politics. Zelensky's comments come just ahead of his participation in the Munich Security Conference, where he aims to engage with key figures in the U.S. administration, including Trump himself. The Ukrainian president is looking to bolster support for his country amid fears that a potential Trump-led administration could withdraw or diminish U.S. assistance. There are voices which say that Europe could offer security guarantees without the Americans, and I always say no, he reiterated during the interview. The stakes are high. Trump, who has expressed a desire to end the conflict in Ukraine, faces skepticism over whether any negotiated settlement might unjustly favor Russian President Vladimir Putin. Zelenskyy highlighted his readiness to negotiate, but only from a position of strength, suggesting that he would offer U.S. companies substantial reconstruction contracts as a means to secure Trump's backing. Those who are helping us to save Ukraine will have the chance to renovate it with their businesses together with Ukrainian businesses, he stated, framing U.S. involvement not just as a matter of security but also as an economic opportunity. The backdrop of this diplomatic effort is fraught with tension. Trump's recent statements have included a mix of skepticism towards continued U.S. financial support for Ukraine, which he claims has cost American taxpayers heavily. They may make a deal. They may not make a deal, but we're going to have all this money in there, and I said I want it back, Trump said. This rhetoric has forced Zelenskyy to adapt his messaging, emphasizing the economic benefits for the U.S. in supporting Ukraine, particularly in the context of access to valuable natural resources such as uranium and titanium. Valuable natural resources where we can offer our partners possibilities that didn't exist before to invest in them, he explained. As Zelenskyy prepares for his meetings in Munich, including discussions with Trump's allies, he hopes to secure commitments that will sustain U.S. military support, which he deems vital for Ukraine's defense. He cited the U.S.-made Patriot missile systems as crucial for countering missile threats, declaring that without American support, Ukraine's security posture would be significantly weakened. However, the situation remains precarious. The early days of Trump's presidency are marked by uncertainty for Ukraine, particularly in light of a reported freeze on U.S. aid programs that could impact humanitarian efforts in the country. Zelenskyy, while grateful for the military aid that has persisted, acknowledged the challenges posed by Trump's unpredictable stance on foreign policy. Moreover, discussions about a potential European peacekeeping force as proposed by French President Emmanuel Macron are met with skepticism from Zelenskyy. He underscored that any peacekeeping mission would need to be substantial and robust enough to deter Russian aggression, stating, "Without America, security guarantees cannot be complete." As the landscape of international relations continues to evolve, Zelenskyy's approach illustrates the delicate balance he must maintain between securing vital support from the U.S. while also navigating the shifting dynamics within Europe. The upcoming meetings in Munich could redefine the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations, making it imperative for Zelenskyy to articulate a compelling case for continued engagement from Washington. As he prepares to navigate these complex diplomatic waters, the world watches closely, aware that the outcome could shape not only Ukraine's future but the geopolitical landscape of Europe as well. In a pivotal moment for Ukraine's ongoing struggle against Russian aggression, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has issued a stark warning: Europe cannot guarantee Ukraine's security without American support. This statement, made during an exclusive interview with The Guardian, comes as Zelenskyy prepares for what could be his most consequential diplomatic trip since the onset of Russia's full-scale invasion nearly 3 years ago. The Ukrainian leader's remarks reflect a growing concern about the potential shift in U.S. foreign policy under President Donald Trump, who has expressed a desire to end the war but whose approach has raised skepticism among allies. Zelenskyy's insistence on the necessity of U.S. involvement underscores the fragility of Ukraine's position in the geopolitical landscape. He asserted security guarantees without America are not real security guarantees, highlighting the critical role that U.S. military support, particularly advanced systems like the Patriot missile defense system, plays in Ukraine's defense strategy. The president's apprehensions are not unfounded. Trump's past comments have hinted at a willingness to negotiate with Vladimir Putin, potentially at Ukraine's expense. Observers fear that a U.S. brokered deal might compel Ukraine to concede to Russia's maximalist demands, undermining its sovereignty. In a bid to secure continued American backing, Zelenskyy plans to offer lucrative reconstruction contracts to U.S. firms, aiming to align business interests with strategic support. "Those who are helping us to save Ukraine will have the chance to renovate it," he stated, emphasizing an approach that combines economic incentives with diplomatic engagement. This strategy reflects an understanding that the U.S. is not only a military partner but also a potential investor in Ukraine's post-war recovery. Zelenskyy's upcoming meetings at the Munich Security Conference, including a significant encounter with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who has previously expressed skepticism towards Ukraine, could prove critical. The Ukrainian leader's optimism about establishing a dialogue with Trump, who indicated a willingness to meet, underscores the urgency of solidifying U.S. support at this juncture. However, the situation remains precarious. Just as diplomatic talks intensify, Russia has launched a deadly missile and drone strike on Kyiv, causing civilian casualties and destruction. Zelenskyy condemned the attack as evidence of Moscow's lack of interest in peace, stating, "Putin is not preparing for peace, he continues to kill Ukrainians and destroy cities." The strike serves as a grim reminder of the war's brutal reality and the challenges that lie ahead for any peace negotiations. Moreover, the Kremlin has dismissed Zelenskyy's proposal for a land exchange, reiterating its unwillingness to discuss territory swaps. This rigid stance complicates the prospect of negotiations and signals that Russia remains committed to its territorial ambitions in Ukraine, as Zelenskyy contemplates a potential land trade. He acknowledges that all of Ukraine's territories are of equal importance, revealing the difficult choices he faces in pursuing peace while maintaining national integrity. As the landscape evolves, the dynamics between Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S. will undoubtedly shape the future of the conflict. Zelenskyy's diplomatic efforts may hinge on his ability to convince Trump and American lawmakers of the strategic importance of Ukraine's stability, not only for regional security but also for broader geopolitical interests, including access to valuable natural resources. The interplay of military support, economic incentives, and diplomatic negotiations will be critical as Ukraine navigates this tumultuous period. Looking ahead, the coming weeks will be crucial for Zelenskyy and Ukraine. With the anniversary of the full-scale invasion approaching, the pressure to reach a sustainable resolution intensifies. The outcome of Zelenskyy's meetings, the response from Western allies, and Russia's next moves will collectively dictate the trajectory of this conflict, with the possibility of a new chapter unfolding in the ongoing war. As Zelenskyy aptly puts it, only strong steps and pressure on Russia can stop this terror, emphasizing the need for unified action from the international community to support Ukraine in its fight for sovereignty and peace.